greatest moments in the history of this team. These players, in a short space of time under Jesse Marsch, have made huge strides.
Canadian team is trying to build something. All credit to Jesse Marsch.
It's been almost a year now since Jesse Marsch has taken charge of the men's national team, Stevie. What a year it's been, hasn't it, for him? Incredible, really.
Fabulous. You think of some of the achievements, the Copa America run, of course, springs to mind. Some of the emergence of the talent that's coming through that team. And a very clear identity, Kev. He's managed to set that quickly, and it looks like it's going to bode well heading towards the home World Cup.
Yeah, well, we're going to go up to the big screen. We're hopefully going to get into the mind of Jesse Marsch to get his take on how he's prepared this side and what he's done across the course of that year. What a time it's been during this period, Jesse. Thank you so much for coming in to join us today. But during this period of time, we've had so many highs within this, or 2024 as it was. We're looking forward to the time ahead. Quickly now, I want to take us back to when you got the job. Now, when you took the job, it was all about Jesse Marsch's high press, high press, high press. We saw that essentially going into the Holland game, into the Netherlands game for the start of it. We want to talk about how you've evolved, how you've changed. Yep. But in this clip here specifically is the Netherlands game and how you actually approached this game and what you did specifically in this game, Jesse.
Well, it's early in the match, as we see here, and you're right. Like, even the players, we worked on pressing, but they thought a little bit like the instruction was for them to press every ball. Right? And I showed them a statistic after this match that actually when we were more compact and we were a little bit deeper, that we had a much higher percentage rate of success and we gave up no goals versus when we pressed high and made ourselves more stretched, that we gave up 4 goals in that stretch and didn't win many balls.
So you were saying initially that this is too high for you
too
and what
high
you want to do.
And not enough really attacking the ball. Like you see in all these that we're sort of jogging around at 50%. This is one of the key things when you're a pressing team is you have to sprint 100% on the ball and then make sure that you're all closing the space together.
I mean, you've got enough bodies in that area of the field, haven't you, there? So essentially then, what are you looking for then within this then, within your press that you're likely to adopt?
Well, look, we wind up winning this ball, which is obviously a good thing, but in these situations, if they get through you, then they can have a number situation up the field, and then they can punish you on the transition. So you have to make sure that you're still compact enough so that you're not creating big open spaces for the opponent to get out and attack you, which... Yeah. We made that adjustment for the France game.
Yeah, we see it here, Jesse. It's a different type shape as well, isn't it? It's more of a 4-3-3 off-balance press, and you can see that line of engagement being back a bit. That was intentional, obviously, wasn't it?
Yeah, we created a little bit of rotation that when they went more into a 3 build-up, that we could kind of rotate and help take care of when we were ready to attack their different players. And then it still gave a room for our midfield to be able to step out and attack if it went wide. And one of the principles we have, and you can see here, is that we always want to be compact and close the middle, right? But look at how compact our team is from front to back. And France, they're too far back the pitch. They can't really find any interior passes, and we're able to make things relatively predictable. And when they play long, we still have enough athleticism and size that we can deal with those balls, and then we can also close for second balls.
So what is the instruction to players? What are you telling them in terms of whenever they're in the shape? Is it a tactic to get to the outside, or is it more a mindset if the striker initiates the press and the rest have to come behind them?
Look, the strikers are often, we call those players the launching players, right? So those are the ones that are initiating the moments that we want to press. In this game against Argentina...
This is Argentina and Atlanta. We just specified that one.
This is the wanted Romero to have the ball. Okay, and one of the triggers we had for that is we wanted to be compact, and then we wanted to attack the next pass from Romero. We showed that he doesn't play a lot of long balls, that he likes to play interiorly, and he likes to slide the ball out wide. And so that was our trigger that now we're going to go and 100% we're going to sprint, attack the ball, and make sure that we're closing and swarming the ball together, which is what you'll see right here.
Yeah, you see here how you trap him in that area. There's no option. Caldwell takes away the option back to Romero as well. And then, as a defender's mindset at that point, to step onto things and to then go and try and go in the counter-attack?
When we have pressure on the ball, we always want our back line to be compact, and they have to read the body language of the player on the ball. If the body language is that he's looking up the field and going to play long, they have to be on the half turn and ready to drop. But even more importantly, we know when they have pressure that it's not as easy to play longer balls, and often the solution is either to dribble out of space or play flatter balls, that we want to be on the front foot. Alphonso Davies right there is perfect, right? So he's ready to step in. And then you see with our pressing, what it does is it creates, with our ball orientation, when we win balls, we outnumber the opponent, and now we can start to play little combinations and get ourselves out into the transition.
What's this? So you've worked on this obviously in the 3 games now, and you've done it brilliantly. We can see the overloads you've created. Everybody running beyond the ball, running forward essentially to make that pass when you've had that overload to create something. So is this almost like this is work in progress at this stage, or are you confident that your team has actually got it at this stage?
In this game, we were very effective in our initial pressing moments, but in the back line, if you can remember, we were sometimes being a little bit careless and reckless to step in, and then they were running late runners, and we were a little bit lucky, and Max Crepeau did a really good job of being the last defender.
Yes.
So it was almost like building blocks, right? Like, okay, we're starting to get this part right, but then we need to improve here. And then once we got that part a little bit more right, we needed to make sure we were solid in the next part of the pitch. And we needed to make sure that they understood, specifically in our pressing plan, exactly what the responsibilities were and then how to execute it at a high level.
Is most of that work done in the training ground, Jesse, or is it in the tactics room? How would you say? Both.
Individual meetings, it's group meetings, it's just the back line, just the front players, going through the details to make sure that they're really clear and then putting it to practice on the pitch, right?
Yeah.
And the thing that was really fun is that the players grasped it quickly. Right, and obviously then, and by the way, they had to, because we played Holland, France, Argentina.
Yeah.
Like, they knew there was urgency in the project and in the progress that we had to make as a team. But this game against Uruguay for me was maybe my proudest moment in the early stages, because we made a bunch of changes in the team, and they came into a big match in the third place game and looked almost identical to what we had been establishing with the first group, So
I think
that's
Jesse,
important.
It was a particularly impressive performance, this third and fourth place game that you had against Uruguay. But the one thing I noticed about this, and Stevie, I think was saying about it, was how direct you were when you won that ball back, and the positivity that you showed. You say different personnel, but no less positivity than you'd probably showed in previous games.
And you can see the change between the last clip against Argentina, where you can see the runners are more committed to getting into these spaces, and the player on the ball's got his head up and trying to make the pass.
Look, what we try, sometimes we'll look at things the minutia, right, of the movements and making sure the connections, and then sometimes we'll look at it a little more broad. And these kinds of snapshots, I think it's really important to see how dynamic each player is when we win the ball, right? And the willingness and eagerness to win the ball and go score. And by the way, if you also showed the back line, they would be sprinting out to close the team to make sure if we ever lose it, that we're all prepared to win it right back. So, we were always encouraging this idea of sprinting, of being dynamic, of being vertical, of being aggressive to close space down, of being aggressive to want to play balls forward. And part of the counter-pressing strategy in that is we can lose balls, we can be creative, we can play forward because we're going to go win it right back.
Yeah.
Right? Just like this.
Yeah.
Vertical, go after them, and we're right there to put pressure on them again.
Yeah. And everyone's coming up in behind in the back line and making sure that they're not ball watching, that they're up for the play.
And there's power in the collective of that. Yeah. Right? It becomes infectious. It becomes contagious in the team. So when I say to them, we're going to play aggressive, we're going to play brave, we're going to play vertical, it's about a mentality, but more importantly, it's about the tactical details of how we play together, how we move together, and making sure that the roles and responsibilities are understood.
And you'd had so much time together that culminated in that Uruguay game. Sometimes what can happen, you kind of have a drop-off after such a successful tournament. But when you came into this USA game, Jesse, this was probably the best performance I've seen by a Canada side, watching them over the last 5 or 6 years especially. This performance especially showed me this must have given you so much confidence of what you can achieve going forward with this group of players. Yeah. Again, the press, Jesse, this is very different as well. Are you trying to negate that central position to prevent them going in there?
Well, Stefan is probably a little bit too high here, and we would probably want Chouanière a little bit higher as well. And we did want to be a little bit more compact, but the players were feeling that we could be more aggressive in the game. And so in that moment, then I was just making reminders on the back line and the midfield to make sure that there was still compactness, right? So in these moments, it was, I think, good that the players felt the aggressiveness. And then it was just key that they really understood that they had to attack together, that they had to sprint at the ball, and it allowed us to win a lot of those challenges and create chances.
So it must make you proud, that change in mindset in terms of the players taking onus of that on the field and actually stepping into things because they feel the energy of the game and they feel like they have an upper hand against the opposition.
And now we've, like we played Suriname in the last 2 matches, and we already built it. If they start playing long right away, then we're going to press a little bit higher. If they try to play through us, now they understand kind of the triggers of what the opponent is presenting and then what we want to do to combat that and control that. And they've gotten better at this. So their sense, their feel, their belief in what we're doing has grown so much.
I think what stands out, sorry Kev, stands out here is the fact you win the ball, 20 yards higher up, as opposed to, say, the Uruguay clip. It's that higher mentality of the higher press. And look at the options that Jonathan's got in the ball.
Obviously, he can take the strike on himself. He's got a couple of options. There's Jacob Schaffer that come in. He could, clever back heel or whatever, even with Ali Ahmed coming. The options that you've got when you have that overload, it's so impressive to see that, really, when you're in those positions.
Some teams press to gain possession of the ball, right? My whole strategy in how we arrange ourselves is we press to punish the opponent. We want to score. We want to press to score goals, to create opportunities, to make them feel us, to make them afraid of us, right? So when we don't, even you'll see them sometimes when the opponent has the ball, that they're like hunters, right? They're ready to attack. And that in itself also breeds fear in the opponent. So yes, this was a good performance. It was a clear performance. And to be honest, we only won 2-1. Like, we should have really scored 4 or 5 goals in this match.
So there's always improvements to come.
And we're still developing that ruthlessness around the goal.
So what is the downside of this stuff? We talked a little bit about Suriname going long. How do you keep your guys focused on, longer passes or different styles? Because teams know what you're about now.
Yeah.
What are you seeing, or what are you expecting to come in March and beyond? With teams maybe playing a different kind of style? Yeah,
teams will sometimes play long, sometimes play big switches. Sometimes they'll try to overload on the wing so that they can create opportunities to find combinations and play through us. But I've been coaching in a version of this for a long time, and I kind of know all those, strategies. And then in the end, it's, can we be better at what we do than the opponent is at what they do? And that is the way you achieve that is by making sure that the individual behaviors and habits are what they need to be and that you're on top of the details of that every day. And that the collective organization of what we do as a team puts us in a more advantageous position to control the opponent no matter what happens. If you win it, if you lose it, if it's a shot, if it's a throw-in, a corner, whatever the situation in the game, we want to be more prepared than the opponent to make sure that we can be aggressive and attack them.
Well, I think it's an
great
exciting... It's great insight. Thank you very much for coming in.
Jesse.
Hopefully we can do some more of this down the line, talking about individuals and the collective again. But thank you very much. We look forward to the rest of 2025 with Jesse Marsch as head of the men's national team coach. Yeah, I really enjoyed that chat, Steve. It was so good getting into his mind and listening to what he was saying about how he set the side up. Was there anything that stood out for you within that?
Fascinating, Kev, wasn't it, to get the opinions and the thoughts of Jesse Marsch. I think what stood out to me was the autonomy he gives the players. He sets some principles, but it's their decisions to make. They're the ones who decide if they're feeling confident, they go in an even higher press, or to maybe sit back a little and set some trigger presses. But ultimately, it's that principle of having the distance between the lines really set within this side, I think, that Jesse Marsch stressed the most. So, yeah, it's fascinating, and the personnel understanding that, not just a starting 11, a 1 to 26, understanding the role and the responsibility.
I think I liked it in that Uruguay game, especially where there was a personnel change and everyone understood exactly what Jesse Marsch was expecting from him. I think it was an incredible piece, really good to listen to him, and hopefully we can get 1 or 2 more of these in the near future.